Hello, welcome to a Midweek Business News Report. It's now time to bring you a feature on the show today as we look at Nigeria's inflation rate. As once again, it has recorded a spike in the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation hitting 17.33% in the month of February this year. Now, this is 0.86 percentage point higher than the rate recorded just earlier in the year, January, which was pegged at 16.47%. Now, the urban inflation rate also increased by 17.92% on a year-on-year basis in February 2021 from 17.03% recorded in January this year, while rural inflation rate also increased by 16.77% last month from 15.92% in January. The composite food index also rose by 21.79% in the month of February compared to the 20.57% recorded in January. Now, the rise in food index was caused mainly by increases in prices of bread and cereals, potatoes, yam and other tubers, meat, food products, fruit, vegetable, fish and oils, as well as fat. In other reports now, the World Trade Organization is concerned about Nigeria's foreign exchange management and how it has been used to support manufacturing, export and import alike. Well, that's the stance of the global body's Director General, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She said Nigeria had invoked WTO's agreement on balance of payment to conserve foreign exchange. Nigeria's balance of payment gap hit $14 billion in 2020 as a result of a wider budget deficit triggered by COVID-19 induced oil price crash that clashed and also slashed revenues, weakened the naira and also caused dollar shortages. Nigeria's central bank, seeking to conserve its dollar reserves, also curbed access to the interbank market for a wide range of importers to boost local production. It also set up a multiple currency regime in 2015 to manage pressure on the naira. So far since then, according to some reports, some firms have defaulted on contracts, lost credit lines, and have also had to deal with foreign suppliers worried that they will not get paid while the currency has lost ground against the dollar. Well, joining me now via Skype to discuss this development and much more, I have economist Dr. Mabinuri. Good morning, Doctor. Good to have you on the breakfast show this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me once again.
Now, let's start off with the inflation reports that we have now. Nigeria has been dealing with the increase in inflationary pressure all this while, but this point we are right now, 17.33%, for so many economies like yourself, it doesn't come as a surprise. But do you think we'll still see a continuous spike, or now it's time to plateau after this figure?
Well, I can't say it's coming as a surprise that we're having inflation at 17.33. There are so many things that we should have put in place before now to ensure that inflation is tamed. But it's quite unfortunate that things are not going in that direction. And again, there are so many distrusts in the economy between the citizen and then the government. A case, had what happened last week that the prices of fuel again will be increased to 212 naira. All these inconsistencies and distrust between the government and then the citizens will surely have all these natural expectations. I think government needs to do a lot in terms of combating inflation. CBN is trying a lot. Will not jettison that, but their best is not good enough for the citizens. It is at this point where they need to put in so many measures to combat inflation. One of which could be to make price of goods and services relatively stable. A case where you are not sure of the price of things and even the exchange rate again not being reliable are things that will surely make inflation not to have not to come down. You keep soaring high. We've never had it this bad in the last 4 years. The last time we had inflation at 17% was February 2017, and 4 years down the line we're having the occurrence of such, and not even when the economy is just still very fragile, just coming out of recession, and is 0.11 is still nothing to write home about compared to economic growth.
Doctor, you just rightly mentioned the fragility of the Nigerian economy, but at this point in time where we are having issues along the lines of food production and processing chains, the food index continues to drive inflation. At this point in time, our staple foods are much more expensive. What's the impact on the average Nigerian, and to what extent do you think we have to now drive agriculture, work towards security, and also ensure that we have transportation logistics and reduce wastage so that then, some way, somehow, we can start reducing the pressure from the food aspect?
I'm sorry, I think I didn't get that question. Could you please help me repeat it?
Yes, the food index has always been one of the biggest concerns for many economists. Now, staple foods are rising much higher. What's your take on this situation, especially as we have security issues still remain a challenge for Nigeria?
Okay, in terms of, if I hear you right, in terms of security, security and economy are two, like the twin that we can't separate. For example, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. In terms of food, if you also check inflation rate, you see that food inflation is the most affected, because our food production is seriously and adversely being hindered. A case where the farmers cannot go to the farm and then harvest their farm produce and then and sell and bring to market. So of course, you know that the few ones available will be chased by the consumers, and of course, when we have too much money chasing few goods, inflation is actually being invited. That's what we call the demand pull inflation. So it's one of the major factors which I was thinking about going to. One of the major factors are leading to the so-called inflation we have right now. And we also look at virtually all the goods we are producing today. I mean, they are being produced today. About 70% of any product we are talking about have what they call natural agricultural products as raw material. So in case where agricultural agriculture is not being affected, the agricultural sector is being affected, so automatically the raw material will be affected. When there is a short supply in the raw material being used in in producing goods and services, it also leads what we call cost pushing inflation, because the little one available will be sold at a very exorbitant rate. Then even suppliers, when they know that there is no hope of getting another source of another raw material, the little one they have, they want to maximize it by increasing their cost of goods and by increasing their selling price, because the cost of goods and services has also increased. So when you put all this in together, you realize that Nigeria is suffering from both cost push inflation and demand pull inflation. So of course the demand will surely go up. So said the security architecture needs to be the security architecture really needs to work at to ensure that farmers and other classes are reduced to the various minimum.
Banditry,
people can go to farm and produce whatever they want to produce, and then inflation will surely come down automatically if all these things can be combated.
Doctor, now wrapping up our conversation now, let's shift our focus to Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's visit to Nigeria as the Director General of the World Trade Organization. Now, the body has raised concerns about Nigeria's forex regime and the management within which it's using to adopt the balance of payment to conserve foreign exchange. Now, we have a balance payment of about a gap of about $14 billion. That was as at 2020 last year. But now, looking at the way the Naira is faring at this point in time, we've seen liquidity injection by the Central Bank of Nigeria, or the official market as at Monday. It was at about 410 Naira to the dollar, which we've also seen a fall from 305 to 360 Naira to the dollar, now 410. And in the parallel market, that's at about 412 Naira. Do you think the current adjustment in terms of supply demand, the shortages that we have, will still persist largely, because this is a concern for the World Trade Organization, importers, exporters alike?
Okay. Just as I complained that time, the audio is really not.
What do you make of Nigeria's foreign exchange market, the regime we have currently, and the CBN's intervention, and working in line with the caution from the World Trade Organization?
All right. Just as Dr. Okonjo-Iweala advised that we should try and then have a unified exchange rate. It's long overdue, and last year, I think around June 22, 2020, the CBN governor made the same recommendation that they will have a unified exchange rate. A case where we're having multiple exchange rates, we should expect what we are seeing right now. A case where we have the official rate, we have the importer and investors exchange rate, that we call it NAPEX, that's Nigeria Autonomous Foreign Exchange, and we also have the parallel market. No economy has such a multiple exchange rate and not have the kind of problem we're having right now. So it is, I think it's right. And then from what CBN governor said, Mr. Emefiele, he said they are trying to unify the exchange rate towards the NAFEX, and if we can do that, which will reflect the real demand and supply of foreign exchange of dollars. So I think our economy will be better off in terms of importation, and in terms of, because one of the inflation we are looking at also here is what we call the pass-through effect, or otherwise called imported inflation. The case where an importer, cost of importing goods and services increase, he has no choice but to pass that such increase in dollar to the final consumer. So we should expect inflation to also rise. So the question is coming from different angles. So we can't isolate the multiple foreign exchange, or the problem we have in foreign exchange management, to the current inflation problem we have right now. So I think it's right time for the CBN to stood up and then maybe, I know, of course, that we need political will to do this. Maybe he has to hold the bull by the horn, and then doesn't mind who's got his whose horse is got, by ensuring that we have a unified foreign exchange. We have seen that on several occasions the CBN governor has said that the parallel market is illegal, that whoever deals with them is at its own peril. But a case where the so-called exchange rate cannot be purchased at the official rate, or cannot be gotten in the bank, of course you have no choice but to go to the parallel market. So I think it is time for them to ensure that the official rate is, or rather the official rate they want to stand with, or the NAPEX they want to stand with, is maintained, and we have a unified
exchange. Doctor, we'll just have to leave this conversation here. We'll have to leave the conversation here. It's important for the CBN to ensure that we have unification of exchange rate, and then we'll also have better sustainability and liquidity injection in the market. Thank you very much for your time. We've been speaking with Dr. Mabinuri, an economist who's been giving us feed on the inflationary reports that we've had so far, and Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's visit to Nigeria, especially with the forex management and the regime we have so far.